The Gryffindor table buzzed with excitement. Plates magically filled with roast chicken, potatoes, peas, and golden brown Yorkshire pudding. Harry had never eaten so well in his life. He tried treacle tart for the first time and found it was his new favorite dessert. Above them, the enchanted ceiling shimmered like starlight. After the feast, the students followed Percy Weasley, a Gryffindor prefect, through winding corridors and moving staircases, past portraits that whispered and argued with each other, and finally to the entrance of their common room, a portrait of a fat lady in a pink dress. "Password?" she asked. "Caput Draconis," Percy said. The portrait swung open, revealing a cozy room full of squishy armchairs, a roaring fire, and stairs spiraling upward to the dormitories. Harry collapsed into bed that night under heavy red and gold blankets, his trunk at the foot, Hedwig asleep in her cage, and thoughts spinning in his mind. He was at Hogwarts. He was a wizard. And he wasn't dreaming. The next morning, the real adventure began. Lessons at Hogwarts were nothing like school with the Dursleys. Professor McGonagall could transform her desk into a pig and back again in seconds. Professor Flitwick, the tiny charms teacher, had to stand on a pile of books to see over his desk. And Professor Snape, well, Snape was a different story. He taught potions in the cold, damp dungeons and seemed to despise Harry from the moment he laid eyes on him. His voice was smooth, almost silky, but full of hidden sharpness. He picked on Harry, questioned him harshly, and gave him 0 marks for not knowing ingredients he'd never even heard of. "He's got it in for me," Harry muttered to Ron after class. "I've heard he always wanted the defense against the dark arts job," Ron whispered back. "Maybe he's still bitter." Despite Snape, Hogwarts was magical in every way. Owls swooped in every morning with letters and packages. Ghosts glided through walls. The staircases moved when they felt like it. And Peeves the poltergeist made mischief wherever he went, dropping ink bottles, sticking chewing gum in keyholes, and laughing like a maniac. But there were mysteries, too. Like the third-floor corridor, which was strictly forbidden to all students. Or the trapdoor guarded by a giant 3-headed dog. Or the strange package Hagrid had taken from Gringotts, the Goblin Bank, and brought to Hogwarts. Harry didn't know what it was yet. But he would find out. And so, as the weeks passed and autumn settled over the castle, Harry Potter began to realize that magic wasn't just in spells and potions. Magic was in friendships, in the thrill of flying, in secrets hidden behind stone walls, and in the quiet feeling that for the first time in his life, he truly belonged. The first flying lesson was scheduled on a crisp Thursday afternoon. The Gryffindor and Slytherin first years gathered on the grounds near a long stretch of open field, each standing beside a school broomstick laid out neatly on the grass. Madam Hooch, the flying instructor, had short gray hair and piercing yellow eyes like a hawk. "Stick out your right hand over your broom," she commanded, "and say, 'Up.'" "Up," everyone shouted. Harry's broom jumped instantly into his hand. Ron's wobbled a bit before rising. Others weren't so lucky. Neville Longbottom's broom just rolled over lazily. "Mount your brooms, kick off from the ground, hover for a moment, then come straight back down." But things went wrong before they even began. Neville, struggling with control, kicked off too hard, his broom soared into the air with him clinging on for dear life. He screamed as the broom bucked and twisted. And then, with a sickening thud, Neville fell. Madam Hooch ran to him immediately. "Broken wrist," she muttered. "Come with me, dear." Before leaving, she turned to the rest of the students. "Not one of you is to move while I take him to the hospital wing. If I see a single broom in the air, you'll be out of Hogwarts before you can say Quidditch." The moment she disappeared, Draco Malfoy spotted something on the ground. "Look," he sneered, holding up a small glass ball. "Neville's Remembrall." Harry clenched his fists. "Give it here, Malfoy," he said, stepping forward. Malfoy's eyes glinted with mischief. "Come and get it, Potter." He leapt onto his broom and zoomed into the air. Without thinking, Harry kicked off the ground, and the world dropped away beneath him. the wind whipped through his hair. The castle and Quidditch pitch blurred past. The broom responded to his slightest touch, as if it were part of him. "Come on, then, Potter," Malfoy yelled, taunting him, holding the Remembrall high. Then, he threw it. Harry leaned forward and shot downward like a bullet, diving headfirst, his hand outstretched. Gasps rang out from below. It looked like he might crash. But at the last second, his hand closed around the glass ball, and he pulled out of the dive just inches from the ground. A roar of applause burst from the Gryffindors. "What's going on here?" a cold voice snapped. Professor McGonagall was striding across the field, eyes locked on Harry. Harry's heart sank. Was he about to be expelled? "Come with me, Potter," she said, briskly. She didn't speak another word as they marched through the castle corridors. Harry's stomach twisted. But instead of the headmaster's office, she stopped at a classroom. "Excuse me, Professor Flitwick," she said to the tiny charms teacher inside, "could I borrow wood for a moment?" A fifth-year boy stood up, tall and broad-shouldered, with a face full of curiosity. "This is Oliver Wood," McGonagall said. "He's captain of the Gryffindor Quidditch team. I've found you a seeker." Wood's eyes lit up. "He caught that ball?" "On his first try?" he asked, stunned. McGonagall turned to Harry, her stern expression softening, just slightly. "Your father would have been proud," she said. "He was an excellent flyer too." Harry was speechless. He wasn't in trouble. He was going to play Quidditch, the youngest seeker in a century. In the weeks that followed, Harry practiced in secret with Oliver Wood, learning the rules of the game, how to spot the tiny golden snitch, and how to dodge bludgers sent flying by enchanted bats. But as Halloween approached, more mysteries crept into the halls of Hogwarts. Strange whispers. Locked doors. And one very large, very smelly troll. But that's a story for next time. With pleasure. Let's continue the next exciting chapter of Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, still in immersive English and podcast-friendly style. We now arrive at Halloween night. A turning point that cements the legendary friendship of Harry, Ron, and Hermione. As October rolled in, the castle turned chilly. Fires roared in every common room, and the scent of roasting pumpkin drifted from the kitchens. Harry's days were packed: classes, Quidditch training, and avoiding Peeves the poltergeist. But one person still made school difficult: Draco Malfoy. Ever since Harry was made Seeker, Draco had doubled down on his taunts. Hermione Granger, meanwhile, had become even more insufferable, correcting everyone's spells, reminding people about homework, and making sure no one broke a single rule. "She's mental, that one," Ron muttered one afternoon after she walked away in a huff. "No wonder she's got no friends." Unfortunately, Hermione heard him. She didn't show up to dinner that evening. Halloween arrived, and the Great Hall was transformed. Floating jack-o'-lanterns filled the ceiling, bats fluttered from the rafters, and golden plates sparkled under the flickering candles. Harry and Ron were halfway through their pumpkin pasties when Professor Quirrell burst into the hall, gasping, face pale as parchment. "Troll, in the dungeons, thought you ought to know." He collapsed. Chaos erupted. Students screamed. Dumbledore stood, his voice magically amplified. "Prefects, lead your houses back to the dormitories." But Harry grabbed Ron's sleeve. "Hermione," he said. "She doesn't know, she wasn't at dinner." Without hesitation, they slipped away from the Gryffindor line and dashed toward the girls' bathroom, the last place anyone had seen Hermione. As they turned a corridor, they froze. There it was. The troll. It was enormous, 12 feet tall with dull gray skin, lumpy shoulders, and a heavy club dragging behind it. It snorted, sniffed the air, and lumbered into the very bathroom Hermione had hidden in. Harry didn't think. He ran. Inside, Hermione was cornered, trembling, eyes wide with terror. The troll swung its club, smashing sinks and tiles. "Do something!" Ron shouted. Harry grabbed a piece of pipe and threw it. Oi! Over here! The troll turned. Harry ducked and darted between its legs. He climbed onto its back, clutching its neck. The troll roared and spun wildly, trying to shake him off. Hermione, move. Ron pointed his wand, voice shaking. Wingardium Leviosa. The club jerked upward, hovered, then came crashing down, on the troll's own thick skull. With a grunt, it collapsed. Silence. Hermione slowly stood, covered in dust and awe. Moments later, professors stormed in, McGonagall, Snape, and Quirrell. What on earth were you thinking? McGonagall thundered. Before Harry or Ron could answer, Hermione stepped forward. I went looking for the troll, she lied. I thought I could deal with it on my own. If Harry and Ron hadn't found me, I'd be. McGonagall blinked. Well, that was very brave of you. Foolish, but brave. They each lost 5 points for wandering off, and gained 10 each for sheer courage. That night, back in the common room, Hermione sat beside them quietly. And when Ron made a joke about trolls and toilets, she laughed. From that moment on, they were friends. There are some things you can't share without ending up friends, like taking down a mountain troll. And as November settled in, so did the trio, side by side, ready for whatever came next.